Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today I want to talk about I want to give you a field report for the Marvel Multiverse role-playing game. American Professional Wrestling WWF 1990s campaign where we are using the Marvel Multiverse role-playing game specifically to run essentially an alternate history for the professional wrestling leagues. And specifically, my player character is Dwayne The Rock Johnson, right? So I'm playing. And the reason why I did this is I'm a huge movie fan. So, two reasons for this campaign. I'm a huge Dwayne The Rock Johnson fan in his Hollywood days, but I've never really interacted with the professional wrestling world. I've seen a match here or there, but I just didn't know that much about it. But I have a good friend, and he is a huge fan. He actually owns intercontinental belts, world belts, these replicas that they make that are pretty incredible. And he has just an encyclopedic knowledge of the history of the WWF and the WWE. And he's a fan of the old stuff and he's a fan of the new stuff. And he's my friend, and I know from him that he cares a lot about this. And I've never really understand the draw of WWF or WWE, but I wanted to understand it better, right? So this year I absolutely fell in love with the Marvel Multiverse role-playing game. And one of the reasons why is because it needs to allow you to play any character from the Marvel world over 60 years. It is the best GURP system ever built, right? So I'm just really having a great time, like reenacting what happened in the 90s with Dwayne The Rock Johnson's career. So we picked up at this point, Dwayne The Rock Johnson is the intercontinental champion. Now, I did not know this, and this is exactly why we're playing. So let me talk about power lines and sour lines. So what are the power lines, the good things from the game, right? The good thing that I absolutely love from the game is getting a very personal tour of the American pro wrestling scene in the 90s of my personal movie hero, Dwayne The Rock Johnson, and understanding what gave him the chops to be the incredible actor he is today, and also what allowed him to be so physically fit, from these years of him being a very serious, very dedicated professional American wrestler, right? And so I'm defending my Intercontinental title. Now, in the first session, which I have a video up for that, and you could see that in the link below. There's a full playlist for this. This was session 2, right? But if you haven't heard about session 1, just bounce back on the link below, and you can listen to session 1. Season 1, episode 2 of the Dwayne The Rock Johnson professional wrestling career, run through Marvel Multiverse. So I'm defending the Intercontinental Championship, the Intercontinental title, and I have the belt, right? Now, what I didn't know is the Intercontinental title is not the highest title in professional wrestling. It's the world title. It's the world title is a higher title, right? And the Intercontinental title is the workhorse title. It's what you do when you're coming up, right? So in 1997, The Rock was still coming up. He was just then, the Nation of Domination was starting to break down, and it was really interesting. Now, in my first game, I just said the moves that I said I wanted The Rock to do, but I realized quickly that I just did not know all the basic moves of the World Wrestling Federation, right? And which was what it was called then, right? And so I needed to learn them. So I did. I actually went ahead and I actually learned what it takes to do all these. And the way I did that, and actually I learned more about the moves. I haven't even learned all the moves yet. And the way I did that was I went and I watched the Rock's, and these are on YouTube through the WWE, right, site. You can watch the Rock's match against Hulk Hogan, which I was very impressed with, and I liked the match, but I was absolutely blown away when I watched The Rock versus John Cena in I think it was WrestleMania 28, right? And it was astounding. I had never really seen, and what was really interesting is previously when I would watch wrestling, one, I don't think I ever watched a whole wrestling match before this, right? But this really gave me the interest I needed to understand and engage with professional wrestling, to understand what it really was. And I could not believe the match between Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and John Cena. It was really spectacular. Both of them wrestled extremely well. And it really showed me exactly what was happening in the wrestling ring. So some of the things I didn't understand in session 1 that I understood for session 2 was, I was like, well, then I do this move, and did that knock the person out? And then I did this move, and did that knock the person out? Right? Or, am I going to be able to put them on the ground and pin them and I didn't even know. I was like, pin them? I didn't understand. There are different ways that wrestlers can be eliminated. They can be eliminated by submission. They could be eliminated by being thrown over the top rope. They could be eliminated. There's one more, which I'm still learning, but submission is just one way that wrestlers are taken out, right? So basically, what really blew me away when I watched the John Cena one, I literally just watched it and wrote down descriptions of the moves that they made. So at this point, I now understand many of the pro wrestling moves, but I don't know their names, right? So I understand what they are when I identify them, and I was able to use them in the Marvel Multiverse role-playing game to do a much wider array of wrestling moves for The Rock, so that I was actually playing The Rock closer to what the capabilities of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson were then. Now, of course, in 1997, he was actually called Rocky Maivia. He wasn't even called The Rock yet, and he wasn't going by Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, right? And so, and in the wrestling world, he would become, first he was Rocky Maivia, then he would become The Rock, then he would become Dwayne Johnson, who is the action star, who is the action star we know and love today, right? So it's really a very extremely good arc, right? That we're looking at, a good arc of everything that's happening. But the biggest thing this Marvel Multiverse role-playing game has done for me, this power line, is just a hand-holding tour of a world that really is incredible. And one of the things I didn't realize that I much more did in session 2 was selling the pain to the crowd, right? So like a good example of this is, I now know what the sharpshooter is, right? So The Rock used the sharpshooter against John Cena. And that is where they take one of the legs, they wrap another leg around their waist, they kind of twist, right? And it causes a lot of pain to the wrestler. And if it's done right, the wrestler is safe. They endure a significant amount of pain, but tolerable pain, right? And that needs to be sold. It needs to be held, right? These moves need to be held and prominently displayed to the audience, right? But as the match is going along, there is very much wear and tear on the bodies of these wrestlers. They very much need to execute these moves, and if they're not executed perfectly, there's very much real danger that can happen. And one of the things that it is absolutely astounding to me that I realized is basically, if a pro wrestler is in the ring and they're not injured, they need to project injury and pain, right? If they are injured, they will project injury and pain. So there is this incredibly dangerous zone where they're injured and they're trying to convey that they're injured, but they actually can't convey that they're injured because they normally are projecting that they're injured, which is fascinating. And then also selling the crowd and more. And actually, I didn't even understand this. I did not understand why John Cena is such a big deal, but his ability to get the crowd to go along with him, and actually to very much to really determine his ability to very much get the crowd on his side, to get the crowd amped, and to listen to the crowd and to take direction from the crowd. I had never seen anything like it. It was truly incredible, right? So I've always had huge respect for The Rock, but I have a lot more respect for John Cena as well now. But in this session, what happened was I did my character did an Intercontinental title defense, right, against Triple H. That was a fantastic match. It was a power line. It was really great. Another power line of our game was, so we're at the FLGS, and I love this. I love running games. Actually, I'm playing in this game, so my narrator is running in the FLGS, which is awesome. And one of our friends comes in and sees us playing, and we're like, "Do you want in?" And he's like, "A bet, of course I want in." Immediately jumps as Brett the Hitman Hart, right? And then he does a Fatal 4, which he beat 3 other wrestlers in, right? And that was run all by him, right? And so me as a player watched that go through. That was very exciting. The Fatal 5 was you were out by submission, you were out by being thrown over the top rope, and there was one more elimination aspect that I do not remember. I'm still like, and this is me learning this world, this very exciting world, right? And then but that was really fantastic to see that. And then immediately I was like, Dwayne The Rock Johnson comes out as they raise Bret Hart's hand and says, after this tremendous job you did tonight, I am giving you a chance at the Intercontinental belt. Now, what I didn't know is at that point, Bret Hart actually had the world belt, right? So both the narrator and the player went along, and then I did an intercontinental defense against an intercontinental defense of my belt, Dwayne The Rock Johnson's belt, against Bret Hitman Hart, right? And we rolled that out, and there was a possibility it would go either way, and I was very excited. It went my way. However, there was, but Stone Cold Austin jumped in and interfered on my behalf without me asking him to, right? Which was very interesting. So, and that was done to set up what was going to be built, for the Hart Foundation and some of the other title defenses that were coming up. So all power lines to this point, I would say there was no less than 5 or 6 power lines. My power lines are, I'm getting to learn the world. I'm getting to understand one of my Hollywood heroes much better. I'm getting to understand the Marvel Multiverse role-playing game. I suspected that it would be incredible to run anything, like any world, and it is. It is spectacularly fast, has a cinematic feel. It is really good. I'm getting, Powerline, I'm getting to spend time with my friends. Powerline, it's being run in an FLGS, and people can jump right into the game. And get this is the great, and this is an area where Marvel Multiverse RPG is just light years ahead of Dungeons and Dragons, right? So basically, Bret the Hitman Hart was run with Batman's statistics, right? So we already had a one-sheet Batman, which he used, and I was able to just send the link right from my phone. We didn't have an extra book. I had extra dice. We had everything we needed to bring Bret the Hitman Hart in right away. Power line. So many power lines. I do have one sour line, and that is, and I don't know what the solution on this is, whether I need to change the way my expectations as a player, or if, if the narrator may, change the way they're running. I'm not sure, right? And I'll invite you to tell me, do I need to be more to understand where the narrator is heading, or does the narrator need to, embrace where I'm going? The only sour line that I've seen so far is this narrator very, very wonderfully spent a lot of time and effort determining literally the entire title defense, every match, and wrote down the history of The Rock, right, into WWF, right? And at this point, we're going through these, and already we've had tiny branches, right, of, for instance, at that point in time, The Rock did not title defense, intercontinental title defense against Bret Hart. We put that in. But I retained the belt, and that's exactly what happened in history. The belt was not lost at that moment, right? And Bret the Hart's history really hasn't been changed. And so I do think the narrator is slightly hesitant to change the history of the game, right? And so I'm hoping he'll be more willing to let The Rock get more power over the narrative of what's happening in the ring away from Vince McMahon and give it more to the wrestlers themselves, which I think would be just and the right, it's not history, it's just a better view of history, right? And so that's one thing I would like, and that's the only thing that where I'm just hoping the game will get even better than it is. It's really epic, it's amazing, but I'm hoping that the narrator will be kind of more open to actually significant branches in the history, right? Where things go in different directions, and maybe The Rock gets the world title earlier, or, maybe something happens to The Rock that never happened, right, in history that's significant and major, right? And so I don't know, like, should I continue to kind of tour the history that's there and make the changes in what moves are done, and all the changes that should be in the game are simply what moves are done, what money is on the contracts, maybe, but that the title defense remains in place, and that allows me to learn the history better. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. Please let me know in the comments below. I'm having just an absolute blast for this. Many thanks to my narrator for running this for me. It's really been fantastic, and I wanted to say thank you for letting me share it. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.